On the weekly chart, we're going to be looking at NVIDIA in here. You can see we ended just below that 224 mark on Friday, up around almost 2.5% from Thursday's close. Nice big green candle in here for us on the week. That's kind of what we expected after we got that nice big bounce here off this lower wick from this 50-day moving average in here. So just a nice little run in here so far for the past week. We're going to see how things shake up, especially as we near our earnings report, which is going to happen in here at the end of this month. So we're about a couple weeks away from that. So we're going to watch our volatility to see if we start to get a nice expansion and a run up or a little contraction from there. But we still got a ways to go. So not really worrying about that just yet. Just kind of keep that in the back of our mind. So speaking of IV in here, though, your IV actually collapsed just slightly because you did have such a big run up in here. It didn't like fully contract, but you did get a little bit of contraction in here just because we got a run up. But if you look at your call IV heat map, actually a little bit increased in here, especially in those out of money calls, because those out of money calls actually turned into in the money calls just because we had such a big run in here on Friday. So your IV actually came in for your calls, but overall your IV did collapse just a little bit in here. So that is something we're watching as we're going into Monday and Monday and Wednesday's expiration in here short term. Also, we have to be aware of our overall gamma exposure. 225 is going to be where our call wall is, although our king node is at that 230 monthly, but we have a lot of negative charm in here on these Monday and these Wednesday expirations, especially at the 225 mark. So if we can get a little gap up and hold over the 225, then look for us to kind of just hang out above there in between 225 and then 230 for the time being, just until things kind of shake out in there. So that's what we're looking at as far as our exposure wise and our IV. Also be aware of your overall skew in here. It is still to the call side, especially when you get a nice big jump in here like we just did on Friday. That is going to happen. So that is something that we need to be aware of as well. But overall, technically, where it is, or what are we kind of looking at in here? Obviously, we just mentioned that 225. That's a level right here. You can see that was a nice close for us coming all the way back in May. But it was also a spot where we kind of rejected here in May as well. So 225, it's a nice, it just sounds good. It's a nice psych level in here, right? So that is going to be our first stop as far as resistance. If we can get a little bit of a gap up, that should give us a head start on Monday. But if we open up below 225, then it looks like we're gonna have some work to do to get kind of climb back above that. As far as outside of 225, we're looking at 230 in here. And then obviously the high came in here at 236 back in May. So that is going to be what we're looking at in here. To the downside, what are we looking at? Well, we're going to be watching that 216. Then we're looking at 212. We have a 9-day EMA sitting here right around that 207 mark. And then we're looking at that psych level, which is right around that 200 right here. But really, worst case scenario is going to be this lower trend line. It's kind of matching up directly with this 50-day SMA, and that's trading right around that 190 range in here. Last thing, we have to be aware of our overall net flow. So on Friday, very, very bullish. Obviously, you had that huge spike in here, but as the net flow dropped, and it actually did turn negative. So it wasn't just hanging out and staying positive and just happened to be above our NPP the whole time. Actually, it collapsed and went negative in here and actually had a bearish crossover. We crossed back over bullish, but we still did not get a turn back into overall positive net flow or at the end of the day there. So, and that came with a big pop there at the end of the day in NVIDIA as well. So that's something we're going to be monitoring as we're going through this next week in here. Especially with that gamma exposure at that 225 mark, and we're setting up against it right now. So that's going to be something that we are going to be watching going forward. But all in all, nice weekend here for NVIDIA right off that 50-day SMA from last week. So let's see how long we're going to stay up here. Again, if we can gap up above that 225, that's going to be good for us. And we should be hanging out between that 225 and 230 area for a little while. If not, then we're going to have to kind of wait and see how things are going to react overall. So let's see what happens in here as we continue throughout the month of August for NVIDIA. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We also have a Discord service if you are interested, and you can find all of our socials in the description below.